right, so get ready, because today we're diving into near-death experiences.
NDEs.
NDEs. And we've got a fascinating conversation to unpack. We're going to be looking at the work of Dr. Sans Segarra, a surgeon who's really spent a lot of time researching NDEs.
Yeah.
What's so interesting is that he started off as a total skeptic, like hardcore traditional science.
Right.
But you know what? Before we jump in, I got to give a shout out to ViralImpactAI.
Yeah.
And their podcast, What Science is Hiding from You.
Oh, yeah.
They've got some amazing content. So if you're into the mind-bending world of science and the unexplained, definitely subscribe to their channel, like their videos, hit that notification bell.
You won't regret it.
Yeah.
So about Dr. Segarra, I mean, his journey from skeptic to like someone who's open to these experiences, it's super interesting.
Yeah.
Think about it. He's a surgeon.
Right.
Dealing with the physical body all the time.
The tangible.
Yeah. And then suddenly he's hearing these stories from patients that totally defy conventional explanation.
Totally. It's like his world just kind of like flipped, right? He could have so easily dismissed them as hallucinations.
Oh, yeah.
Or just, a dying brain kind of like misfiring.
Yeah, just a byproduct of the process.
He didn't.
He didn't. He's like, no, there's something more here. I need to investigate.
And he brought that same scientific rigor to it.
Exactly.
That he would, like surgery.
So one of the first things he did was to actually compare near-death experiences to hallucinations.
Smart.
Yeah, he worked with psychiatrists, psychologists, really trying to understand what separates the two.
The key differences.
Yeah, and what they found was really remarkable.
Yeah.
NDEs, they often follow a very specific structure, like a pattern, and it aligns with these 16 stages that were identified by an NDE researcher named Bruce Grayson.
Bruce Grayson, okay.
Yeah, but hallucinations, they're completely random, illogical. They vary wildly from person to person.
So there's a consistency with the near-death experiences that you don't see with hallucinations.
Exactly, it's a big clue.
Yeah.
And it's not just the structure that's different, it's also how people remember them.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. NDEs are recalled with vivid detail, even decades later.
Wow.
But hallucinations, they tend to fade or they're dismissed as, embarrassing episodes.
Right.
It's like the brain holds on to NDEs differently.
It's giving it importance.
Exactly. And the impact on people's lives is different too. Like NDEs lead to lasting shifts in values, outlook, relationships.
Profound changes.
Yeah, hallucinations just don't have that same transformative power.
And there's that story that he shared about the healthcare worker who, while clinically dead, accurately described events that were happening in another part of the hospital.
Yeah.
Like things that they couldn't have possibly known.
Mind-blowing. It's hard to explain that away as just a hallucination.
Right. You can't just say, oh, you were just hallucinating.
And then you have the case of Dr. Eben Alexander,
Oh, yeah.
a neurosurgeon who had a profound NDE during a severe illness. He even wrote a book about it, Proof of Heaven.
Okay, so then the question becomes, if NDEs aren't hallucinations, what are they?
Right. How do we explain them scientifically?
And this is where Dr. Segarra starts to delve into quantum physics.
Yeah, he thinks it might hold some answers.
It's interesting, right?
It is. But before we go too deep into quantum physics, it's important to remember that this isn't some fringe science.
No.
It's a well-established field that explores how matter behaves at the atomic and subatomic levels.
Right.
And some of its principles, like quantum tunneling and quantum entanglement, have really fascinating parallels with what people describe during NDEs.
Okay, quantum tunneling. I mean, that sounds like straight out of a sci-fi movie.
I know, right? Imagine you throw a tennis ball at a wall, and instead of bouncing off, it suddenly appears on the other side.
What?
That's kind of what quantum tunneling is like. But at the subatomic level, particles can pass through seemingly solid barriers.
So you're saying, like, could quantum tunneling explain the out-of-body experiences that people report during NDEs?
It's a possibility. It's a thought-provoking idea.
Yeah.
It really is. And then there's quantum entanglement, which is even weirder.
Okay, how is that even weirder?
Well, this suggests that two particles can be linked together in a way that transcends space and time.
Okay.
So if you change one particle, the other one, no matter how far away it is, instantly changes too.
Whoa.
They're connected in this crazy, non-local way. So think about the profound sense of interconnectedness that people feel during an NDE.
Like oneness with everything.
Exactly. Could quantum entanglement offer some insights into that?
So we're talking about connections that go beyond our normal understanding of space and time.
We are. It gets pretty mind-bending.
It does.
And Dr. Segarra really emphasizes that while quantum physics might offer a way to understand NDEs, We have to remember that science is always evolving.
Right.
What we know today could be just the tip of the iceberg. Future discoveries might completely change our understanding.
Yeah.
But for now, quantum physics seems to provide the best framework for exploring this uncharted territory.
A good starting point. Okay, so we've been talking about quantum physics and its potential role in explaining NDEs, but Dr. Segarra goes even further, right?
Yeah, he does. He suggests that we're essentially walking, talking bundles of energy.
I love that. Working, talking bundles of energy.
Right. He calls humans coherent quantum complexes, like synchronized energy systems, constantly emitting and receiving information.
It's a fascinating concept that really challenges like our traditional view of ourselves as just physical beings.
Totally. Think about it. We've all walked into a room and instantly felt the energy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's tense, maybe it's joyful.
Yeah.
Dr. Segarra suggests that we're picking up on these subtle energy fields.
You mean like auras?
Yeah, auras.
Okay, I gotta admit that always seemed a bit out there to me. But if we are constantly emitting energy, like he's suggesting, maybe it's not so crazy after all.
Right.
And then he brings up energy vampires.
Oh, yeah.
Those people who just drain you.
You're left feeling totally depleted.
We've all met them.
Oh, absolutely. It's like they're siphoning off your life force.
But he's not talking about like literal vampires.
No. He's using it as a metaphor
Okay.
to describe this energetic exchange between people. Some interactions leave us feeling energized, others totally drain us.
So how does this whole energy concept tie into telepathy?
Oh, good question.
Like the communication of thoughts or feelings without using our senses. Is that even scientifically plausible?
Well, Dr. Segarra suggests that telepathy might be a form of deep energetic communication.
Oh.
He even shares a personal story about experiencing telepathy with his wife of 55 years.
How cool is that?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
He suggests that deep emotional bonds, shared experiences, that lifetime of connection might create this energetic resonance that allows for this type of communication.
But they've developed their own private language.
Yeah, an energetic language.
So if we are these interconnected energy systems, what happens to that energy when we die?
Big question, right?
Yeah. Does it just dissipate? Or does it continue on in some form? This brings us back to the idea of life after death.
Exactly. Dr. Segarra believes that our true essence, what he calls our supraconsciousness, persists after our physical bodies stop working.
Superconsciousness.
It's like something beyond our everyday awareness. A higher level of consciousness that's not limited by the physical brain.
And he uses the experiences of NDEs to support this idea, right?
He does. Many describe leaving their bodies, encountering deceased loved ones, feeling this profound sense of peace and interconnectedness.
It's like they're getting a glimpse into the nature of this superconsciousness.
Exactly. And he also brings in the concept of karma.
Karma, the idea that our actions in this life have consequences that extend beyond our physical existence.
Right. It's a complex idea with roots in many spiritual traditions. But essentially, Dr. Segarra suggests that the energy we generate through our thoughts, actions, intentions, it creates this ripple effect that shapes our journey not only in this life, but also in the afterlife.
So are we talking about like a cosmic balance sheet?
Not exactly.
Where our good deeds and bad deeds are tallied up?
It's not so much about a plus and minus system. He emphasizes that karma is more about the evolution of consciousness. The choices we make, how we treat others, the energy we put out into the world, it all contributes to our spiritual growth in this life and beyond.
But what about those distressing NDEs that we talked about earlier? The ones where people experience fear, darkness, even torment.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
If karma is about spiritual evolution, how do those experiences fit in?
Well, Dr. Segarra acknowledges that not all NDEs are blissful or filled with light.
Right.
He suggests that these distressing experiences might reflect unresolved conflicts, negative actions, a lack of acceptance in a person's life.
It's like they're confronting their own inner darkness.
Exactly. It's like facing a mirror to your soul.
Wow.
And this, according to Dr. Segarra, highlights the importance of living a life of compassion, kindness, intentionality.
Because the way we live now, the energy we generate, has implications beyond our current understanding.
It's a powerful concept.
It is. So let's talk about Dr. Segarra's personal perspective on death. He's a surgeon. He's witnessed death countless times, yet he expresses no fear of it.
It's incredible. He views it as a natural transition, just part of the human experience.
And he even talks about euthanasia.
Yeah, a topic that's often controversial.
But he approaches it with compassion and pragmatism.
He acknowledges how complex it is, emphasizing the importance of respecting individual choices and the right to die with dignity.
He also draws a distinction between euthanasia and palliative care.
Yeah. He advocates for better end-of-life care that focuses on easing suffering and allowing for peaceful transitions.
And he shares his own personal preference for palliative care.
He does. He believes that maximizing comfort and minimizing pain in the final stages of life is crucial.
It's a perspective that challenges us to really rethink our own relationship with death.
It does, and to recognize that death doesn't have to be this scary, taboo subject.
It can be approached with peace and acceptance.
Exactly.
Wow, this deep dive into near-death experiences with Dr. Segarra has been quite a journey.
It really has.
So many mind-blowing concepts, from quantum physics to the idea of us as energy systems.
It really makes you question everything you thought you knew about reality.
It does.
Yeah.
And one thing that really stuck with me was Dr. Segarra's emphasis on how the way we live impacts how we die.
It's a powerful idea, right? That our actions have a ripple effect, not just in this life, but maybe beyond.
Yeah. It's like what goes around comes around, but on a cosmic level.
Exactly.
And that image he painted of a peaceful death, surrounded by loved ones with love and acceptance.
It's beautiful.
It is. It's such a stark contrast to the fear and anxiety that we often associate with death.
It makes you wonder why we're so afraid to talk about it.
Right. Like, why is it such a taboo subject?
Maybe it's because we're so attached to our physical bodies and our identities that the thought of letting go is terrifying.
Yeah, maybe. But Dr. Segarra's perspective encourages us to see death not as an ending, but as a transition.
A natural part of life.
And remember what he said about encouraging our loved ones to transition peacefully,
Yeah.
instead of desperately trying to hold them back.
It's a powerful reminder that sometimes letting go is the most loving thing we can do.
Absolutely. It's about respecting the natural order of things.
And recognizing that death, like birth, is a sacred and transformative experience.
Dr. Segarra's own acceptance of death is truly inspiring.
It is, to face mortality every day as a surgeon and still have that level of peace.
He chooses to focus on living a meaningful life.
Maximizing comfort, minimizing suffering for himself and his patients.
And he even gave practical advice for those facing the end of their journey.
Like advocating for palliative care.
To ease pain and discomfort, to allow for a more gentle and dignified transition.
It's about embracing the full spectrum of human experience.
From birth to death and everything in between.
And recognizing that there's beauty and wisdom in every stage, even the final moments.
So after this deep dive, what does it all mean for us?
How can we apply these ideas to our own lives?
It's a call to action. To live with intention, to cultivate compassion and kindness, to approach life's mysteries with curiosity and an open mind.
And to face death not with fear, but with wonder and acceptance.
To remember that there's still so much we don't know about consciousness, about reality, about what lies beyond.
Just like Dr. Segarra continues to explore these uncharted territories with a scientific and compassionate heart, so should we.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we leave you with a final question. If consciousness does persist after death, if the energy we generate does echo through the universe, what does that mean for how you choose to live your life right now in this moment?
It's a question worth pondering.
It is. And we encourage you to continue exploring these profound mysteries. And don't forget to check out ViralImpactAI's podcast, What Science is Hiding from You, for more mind-bending explorations.
They're doing amazing work. Subscribe to their channel, like their videos, and hit that notification bell.
You won't regret it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.